authenticity, that modern chimera that haunted their contemporaries. Together they helped shape how Afghanistan and the entire Muslim world were perceived on both sides of the Atlantic. With their gift for literary gamesmanship, Ikbal and Idries wrote works that appealed to everyone from readers of middle-brow potboilers to public intellectuals and politicians. For all their idiosyncrasies and inventions, they both sought to harmonize Islam with the West in ways that echoed the ideals of other Muslim liberals of their day. Their rise to prominence involved literary agents and book publishers, newspaper editors and spy masters, publicists and poets. Yet their struggle to enter the Anglo-Saxon networks of publishing and politics involved a series of masquerades that incrementally created a make-believe world. And as publishing and politics converged through their shared concerns with the Muslim world, the East that Ikbal and Idries depicted increasingly diverged from the changing facts on the ground. Invented by empire, then cultivated in the nostalgic soil of exile, theirs was the myth of an Afghan Shangri-La that emerged as it ended in conflict. Their story began long before and far away from that summer day of dressing up in an English garden. It began instead on the bloody frontiers of the British Empire, where the need for local allies initiated the convergence of unfamiliar worlds. One of those allies was Ikbal and Idries' ancestor, a wily Afghan warrior called Jan Fishan Khan. Way back in 1839, British officers led an army of largely Indian soldiers that crossed the Khyber Pass to successfully conquer Afghanistan. But 3 years later, the British found themselves unable to win the peace, prompting what they hoped would be a dignified withdrawal. It soon descended into a massacre. For decades afterward, along the winding road from Kabul to Jalalabad, the unburied bones of 16,000 foot soldiers and camp followers lay scattered with those of their pack animals. 40 years later in London, the memory of those events was frozen forever in a painting of an exhausted Scotsman riding a sagging horse to a mud brick garrison. In the distance, a party of British officers gallops out to greet him, the heroic lone survivor. Yet, like primer beneath paint, the true picture of events had a murkier texture, made of collusion and compromise. And when Kabul had first fallen within Britain's widening imperial horizon, one man symbolized the blurred hues of mixed loyalties and merged identities that made empire possible. His name was Saeed Muhammad Shah, or to use the bellicose title by which he was better known, he was Jan Fishan Khan, the scatterer of souls. A hereditary landlord from the village of Bahman near Kabul, Jan Fishan had found himself drawn into the fighting as his highland orchards gained strategic value in the battle for the capital. Rather than join the growing rebellion, though, he sided with the invaders during their triumphant early years of occupation. Then, as the capital and countryside began to fall to the rebels, he escaped to exile in India, with the first rounds of evacuees who left ahead of the Great Massacre. Even so, much danger still lay on the long road to Delhi, and in defense of his Christian companions, Jan Fishan lived up to his martial sobriquet. He too was later painted. Two hawkish eyes stare out of the portrait from beneath eyebrows defiant as an archer's bow. Above them, a broad turban magnifies the size of his skull, while below, a black beard hangs into a point that draws down the gaze to the dagger in his belt. He was one of Britain's best allies in Afghanistan.